First of all, I want to thank you all for attending my capstone presentation for my action research project for Georgetown College's class EDU 626. The title of my project is The Impact of Professional Development on Teacher Attitudes and Frequency of Implementation of Differentiation for Gifted and Talented Students in the Regular Classroom. I began my action research project by first identifying a problem or an area of need regarding the gifted and talented population at our school. Because our school only has one gifted and talented coordinator who also teaches 4th and 5th grades, it can often be difficult to ensure that our middle and high school students are pulled for their pull-out services as frequently as we might wish that they could be. These pull-out services are times when the gifted and talented students meet to participate in extension activities with our GT coordinator in order to strengthen their talents and abilities. Currently, these sessions are only available to the students once a month just because of scheduling and because we're all at our small school pulled in so many directions at one time. So because of this, most of the needs of our gifted and talented students are having to be met in the mainstream classrooms, which is fine because teachers, are supposed to differentiate anyway. But I really just wanted to kind of see how confident our teachers were in actually implementing these strategies and how well educated they felt that they were prior to setting foot in the classroom. I know that before I stepped foot in the classroom, I didn't feel completely comfortable in implementing these differentiation strategies or even know of ones that could be used or should be used in the regular classroom. So this led me to develop my action research project to answer the following question. What effect does professional development regarding differentiation strategies for gifted and talented students have on teacher attitudes and frequency of use of these strategies in their classroom? Before conducting my own research at our school, I read a multitude of articles that focused on not only teacher preparedness for implementing differentiation, but also the need for differentiation, the importance and effectiveness of professional development, and which differentiation strategies might be the best implemented in a regular classroom. And just a small selection of the literature that I reviewed is presented here in Table 1 on my slideshow. So in order to begin my research, I first obtained permission from my principal to conduct an action research project at my school. My study used both qualitative and quantitative data, which made it a mixed method study. And data was collected using multiple methods. That way, I can ensure that triangulation of the data to prove or to provide more valid results. Initial data regarding teacher attitudes for using differentiation and their confidence in implementing these strategies were gathered with a pre-professional development survey that was sent to the teachers by Google Forms, and it contained both Likert style questions that ask about their confidence in implementing differentiation, as well as how knowledgeable they felt they actually were in strategies that could be used in the classroom. The data collected in this survey was used to develop a professional development presentation that was then presented to those teachers, and that after the professional development was presented, they were then sent a post-professional development survey to see how the session impacted their confidence and their knowledge of the strategies. In addition to these things, classroom observations and teacher interviews were also conducted to determine if the study or if the professional development did truly impact their confidence and abilities. This study took place at Bergen Independent School, and the participants included 4 middle school teachers from varying subject areas, 1 high school math teacher, and 1 middle school / high school ELA teacher. These teachers had varying years of experience, ranging from first-year teacher to more than 6 years of experience. And in order to protect the privacy of the subjects, I sent the initial consent forms through email, and they returned those to me either by printing them or putting them in my mailbox, or submitting them anonymously, or submitting them to me through email. And then when I received each consent form, I gave each participant a number so that throughout the study I would know actual personal information will be revealed, and they were referred to by that number. So the data was compiled, like electronic data was compiled and kept on my Google Drive, my own flash drive, where only I had access to it. Any printed copies of any data were kept in a filing cabinet in my room that was locked, and at the conclusion of the study, all of the data and everything will be shredded and will be deleted from my electronic Google Drive so that it protects the privacy of the participants. Here you can see just the descriptive statistics of the participants. First here, figure 1, it shows the grade levels. So we had mostly middle school teachers. Here showed that we had mostly math teachers, 50% of them were math teachers, just by the nature of who elected to participate. And then most of the teachers here were in the 6 to 10 year experience, although we had some first year teachers and some in the 2 to 3 and 4 to 5 year categories as well. Okay, like I mentioned before, the data collected consisted of both qualitative and quantitative data. So the quantitative data was collected through the surveys, where I could actually get numerical results and percentages. Classroom observations were also done, the teacher interviews, and then, as I mentioned, using the multiple methods allowed for like more valid results. And I'm gonna broke it down. The data was broken down by section here. So here was the results from the pre-survey data. So figure 4 here indicates that 66.7% of participants felt that they had just an average knowledge of differentiation that could be used. This was kind of just based on their own, opinion of what average was. I didn't really set any other criteria, but it was just kind of initially how well prepared they thought they were to differentiate. And this was even after not necessarily not having any instruction on this in the past, because I know our district does a good job of providing us information, but they still felt that they were lacking some information that they needed. Figure 5 here also showed that 66.7% of the teachers only felt they had just an average confidence, so not extremely confident in implementing these. Knew it was important, knew we needed to do it, but didn't really have the confidence to do it or do it effectively, they felt. So even after, like I said, they just felt there was room for improvement. Here, after conducting interviews with the participants, this was also done prior to the professional development presented to them. So these conversations just allowed for more like open-ended conversations to be had. And here you can see some of the themes that I developed from listening to those interviews and for like transcribing them. One common theme seemed to be that prior to becoming a teacher, there was not a huge focus in in the graduate or undergraduate levels of preparing for GT students. A lot of the focus was placed on the one participant even said that focused more on like special ed students, which is just as important as educating our GT students, but we focused more on that and how to prepare those 504s and IEPs and what that even was, and barely even mentioned like GT students. Another participant mentioned that they were on a completely like alternative track to being certified as a teacher, so they had not yet been taught anything about gifted and talented until they stepped into the classroom. I also found that there was like a lack of just knowledge of these effective differentiation strategies. I mean, of course, we all know that we can, vary questioning and things like that and vary assessments, but when it comes to a lot of the more structured, like independent studies and things, it was felt that there wasn't a great knowledge of those strategies. Plus, there was also good points brought about where students notice if you give someone else a different assignment, and so wanting to be able to differentiate to meet the needs of those students without making them stick out. That was just some of the things that were brought up during the interviews. Okay. On classroom observations were a little bit harder to fit in, but I was able to observe prior to the professional development. I realized it probably would have been better to do it afterwards to see if like things had improved, but And this is not to say that the teachers were not necessarily differentiating, but on the day that I happened to be able to pop in for a couple minutes, only half of them were using noticeable differentiation strategies. Like I said, they may have been differentiating, but it just wasn't evident on that particular day that I was able to pop in. And it was hard to schedule those because of time constraints and things like that, but that is what I found from the observations. After those observations, I had compiled and the pre-survey, I had compiled a professional development that was sent to the participants only. It was in addition to one that was presented by our gifted and talented coordinator, and it focused more on differentiation, like actual strategies, things that can be done. And following that professional development, the post survey was submitted or sent to the teachers. Here we can see that 80% of the participants, and I only received post surveys from 5 of the participants, but 80% of the participants felt that they were now more knowledgeable, still showed room for improvement because we only had one that would rank it as extremely knowledgeable. That's what the 5 meant. But still showed room for improvement, but it did show that professional development did help them to increase their knowledge of differentiation, as well as increase their confidence levels with actually implementing those strategies. So it did still show room for improvement, but that is quite all right. Okay, so just a summary of the results. Says when the study began, all of the participants felt that they had average or even below average knowledge of differentiation and confidence levels in their abilities to implement the strategies. The initial interviews revealed that all participants pretty much felt that they had been underprepared, not necessarily by our district, but before even becoming a teacher about differentiation, and so they kind of felt like they were a step behind in a sense because they didn't have that initial knowledge when they stepped in the classroom. And I wasn't included in the study, but I can also echo that. That's what kind of sparked my curiosity in this topic in the first place, because I didn't feel completely prepared until really undergoing this certification in gifted and talented to truly differentiate. And I still don't feel 100% confident, but that's why I think it showed we still, as teachers, have to be lifelong learners, and it still shows that there's always can be room for improvement. The classroom observation data I mentioned before revealed that only half of the participants were incorporating some type of differentiation, and I didn't even really specify a certain kind. It was just any type of differentiation that I noticed, and that was just on the particular day that I happened to visit them. And after analyzing the post-survey data, all of the participants reported that the professional development session had in fact improved their abilities and their confidence, and improved their frequency of use. So they reported that their frequency of use had also improved. I did mention here at the end, conducting a post-professional development observation would have probably helped to provide some more definitive data to the fact that their frequency of use had actually improved, but there just wasn't time to squeeze that in. So that would be one thing that could have been done to improve the results further. So this slide shows some conclusions that I drew from this study and kind of links it to some of the literature that I had read before. The first conclusion was that professional learning does in fact lead to an increase of confidence and abilities in the classroom, and not just necessarily relating to gifted and talented, but it just goes to show you that if professional developments are structured correctly and are relevant to the participants, then I feel like they would increase in their confidence and their abilities in any area in the classroom. The connection that I made was that teachers would be more likely to differentiate, or if they were properly trained in appropriate strategies. And then another conclusion that I had drawn was that proper differentiation consists of, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's various methods, and they should be tailored to the individual student. And I think that is, that's pretty evident. We know that not all of our gifted students are gifted in the same area, so you really do have to tailor their instruction to meet the individual needs of the student. Recommendations for the future. The first category here is an impact of the study at our school in general. It says, although our school makes very good attempts at educating our staff, our usual focus is on the identification, which is good. We need to focus on how to identify these gifted students and get more of the ones that are truly gifted incorporated into the program. But during this study, several of my colleagues were given this additional professional development that just focused on strategies. So what I thought could be a recommendation was to not only focus on the identification, which is something that we need to know and need a refresher on, and can always be, looking for ways to identify those students, but also to focus on some particular strategies, some information on some particular strategies that we could use. In addition, I said that even just a bank of resources, like here's some good good places to go where you can find ways to differentiate, or resources that maybe fit your content that are already differentiated and that you can incorporate into your classroom. I said that might be a good something for our school to have, and that wasn't something that I could find, or I know we can always ask our gifted and talented coordinator, but I know, like I said before, she's pulled in a million different directions like we all are. So maybe like a central document or a central folder on Google Classroom or something could be something that we could use. As far as the impact of the teaching profession, the study showed, like I said, just how important professional development and professional learning is in not only educating our gifted students, but just improving, teachers and their confidence in the classroom as well. So for the results of this particular study, I would just encourage colleges and universities to not, to kind of split the focus between, educating about the special ed, but also go to the other end too and provide more education about gifted and talented students and how to educate them and meet their needs. And then the slide is a slide of my references, and that is it. Thank you guys for coming. And are there any questions?